Reports have shown that the leading cause of death amidst all Gen Z is firearms. But when you look into the data, there's something actually that's causing 300 times more deaths amidst every person that was born between 1997 and 2012. What is it, you may ask? Well, we'll talk about it. All this and more. My name is Jackson Wayne Paul, and welcome to Latter Daily Saints.
What power shall stay the heavens from pouring down knowledge from heaven upon the heads of the latter-day saints?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Latter Daily Saints. For those of you newcomers, which we're having a lot more recently, but let us know you're actually here. Hit the subscribe button, even hit the like, because it shows this, it makes it so YouTube shows it to more people. And so if you like it, okay? But no one here is an official representative of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as a whole, but we're members and we like to keep you updated on the news and stuff. And so, yeah, that's the worldview we're coming at from. But we have a very special guest today because first time in Latter Daily Saints history, we have invited a guest on that is actually not a Latter-day Saints. Dylan, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we had the opportunity. Dylan reached out to us a little bit ago. He runs his own YouTube channel. Actually, let's just pull it up here, Brando, if you would. It's called Backpack Religion. And I'll let Dylan kind of explain it, but like help us understand what's like your goal with your YouTube channel, Backpack Religion.
Yeah, Backpack Religion is a channel I started maybe, 2 years ago now. I forget how long it's been. But the goal with it was to talk to people from different faith backgrounds and basically ask them questions, learn more about them, and actually get my feet on the ground and visit their places of worship, things like that. So I visited different denomination churches. I've talked to different religious leaders. I talked to imams. I talked to pastors. I talked to priests. I talked to people from different faith backgrounds. So yeah, the goal is just to allow people from different cultures and backgrounds to share their beliefs, whether that be like something that people can agree on or that's super controversial. I let them kind of decide where they take it with their answers. I try to let them be the informants, and then I just kind of put it out there.
Yeah.
Check it out here. I visited a huge Latter-day Saint temple.
Yeah, that was your third video.
Yeah, so
It is a huge temple, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I visited it a few years ago. I forget when it was, but 2022. Anyway, it was after COVID, I think. Either way, I know that when I visited it, I visited with my brother and someone who was part of the church, the Latter-day Saints church, and then also a couple other people. And so I had the opportunity to see it, and I made a little video out of it. I actually originally posted it on my first YouTube channel, which is called Like the World Podcast, I think. And it did pretty well there. And when I made Backpack Religion, I just kind of redid it and put it on there. So
yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool to see the inside of the temple before it was dedicated.
That's cool.
Oh, it was before it was dedicated.
Yeah, it was an open house.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I mean, yeah. He
well,
went
duh.
I was gonna say I wouldn't have been allowed inside. I wouldn't have had the membership card thing.
Exactly. So, now a question, I guess, from you. So you're coming at this from what type of religious background then?
So I come from a Protestant background. I mean, to be more specific, because that's a pretty broad spectrum. I would have grown up in the Anabaptist Mennonite community, but now I would go to a non-denominational church that would say my beliefs probably align the closest with Baptists.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm a Baptist because I think people have perceptions of what people believe in within certain denominations. But I would say probably that's, if I had to pinpoint myself, I'd be leaning that direction.
Yeah. Well, no, words have meaning. Well, cool. And I love the fact when he reached out to me and saw what his channel was doing and what he wanted to do in regard to the Latter-day Saints. We're going to be doing an episode for his channel later today. But yesterday we had the opportunity. The people at the church have been so kind in organizing like this VIP tour for Dylan. And we went to Welfare Square, the Humanitarian Center, the Central Bishop Storehouse. We went and listened to the Tabernacle Choir do their rehearsals and stuff like that. I'm curious, Dylan, from and we're going to the Missionary Training Center today, going to BYU. It's going to be awesome. He's getting the full experience. But I guess, what was your perception of the Latter-day Saints before? And then I guess from what we experienced yesterday, has anything changed or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was. I think we talked about this last night actually over dinner, but I wasn't like Latter-day Saints was never really something on my mind for most of my life. I would have bumped into them every once in a while, whether that be at school or whatever, but it wasn't something that preoccupied my time, nor something I deeply studied.
Yeah.
And they were
So-
just like 9 foot tall Quakers with black top hats.
Yeah, hiding their horns and stuff like that.
I just knew that Utah was a big place for them, and I knew that theologically they didn't believe in the Trinity, and that was probably the extent to which I really thought about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent when I was in college, when I started my channel and things, I would have read a little bit of the Book of Mormon, and I would have read up a little bit on them, but very surface level. So not, I wouldn't say I had tons of thoughts per se. But now I think after this experience, some of the overarching big picture stuff I already kind of knew or would have inferred. But the details are definitely interesting. I think the details of how the humanitarian efforts and the to the extent that they are able to distribute food and goods and stuff, because that's a lot of what we did yesterday, was looking at the mission side of it from that standpoint. It was kind of crazy to see to which scale things are being done and how it's being done.
Yeah. No, it was super cool. And even myself, I hadn't had the opportunity to visit a lot of those sites that we went to yesterday and learn things. But no, I'm super grateful because you seek to talk to people and you don't make your MO talking about people online and assuming what they believe, but you want to talk to the actual people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about that yesterday in our video.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, I mean, you probably know, dude, a lot of people talking about us, bro.
Yep.
A lot of people talking about us. A lot of people doing weird stuff too. And like on the evangelical, I guess, scale of their kindness towards members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we've got some two extremes, you know?
All right.
We got people like, are you familiar with Hello Saints Pastor Jeff?
I've seen his thumbnails. I don't necessarily watch his videos, but I've seen his thumbnails.
Yeah. So he's pretty friendly. Obviously, he still disagrees with us, or else he would be a Latter-day Saint, you know? But his kind of shtick is that he is a Protestant pastor that is exploring the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yep.
And he does it in a very kind way. And then we have guys like the charismatic Calvinist. Have you heard of him?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Well, this is kind of a little intro. This is a video he posted just a few days ago. But I'm curious to get your reaction.
Bro, get a clue. Enough of the Mormon bashing. I'm not Mormon, but I'm from AZ, and I grew up with tons of them. They're amazing people. All you do is shit on them to a point of obsession. That energy towards Jews and Muslims. Very unbecoming.
This guy's got Mormon derangement syndrome. Spend your energy teaching that word, not hating, bro.
Get it? Like leaf of a book. Like you call the page of a book a leaf. It's a play on words. Turning a new leaf, turning a page. I was thinking about this all day.
Wow. Yeah, that's a way to approach conversation for sure.
Yeah, not very persuasive, but I mean, the vibes that I obviously get from you, Dylan, like you seem like a really awesome guy, and your mission is to learn and to let people explain themselves. But I guess people coming to your channel, what do you hope that they come away with after they watch your videos of these different religions?
Yeah, so I think a big thing I want people to come away with is one and one of the biggest things is don't be afraid to talk to people from different backgrounds. I mean, unless they are quite literally verbalizing that they're going to harm you, like don't be afraid. Like talk to people, get to understand them, know them. I think from that standpoint, we would be in a lot better place politically, socially, if people weren't afraid of other cultures and people groups. I think too, the other thing I want people to take away is we can still disagree and have civil conversation. So I think sometimes the fall I see in some people is that they want to say, oh, all religions are the same, all religions are this, all whatever. Fundamentally, they're all the same. I disagree with that statement, but I think that's okay. I don't think that needs to result in fighting and yelling and name calling and things. I think we can still have civil conversation and say, hey, at the end of the day, I disagree with you, but you're still, like, as a Christian, I would say you're still made in the image of God. You're still valuable and stuff. So I still want to treat you with respect, even though I disagree with your beliefs. And as long as you're not breaking laws, hurting people, things like that, I think we can have those type of conversations and discussions in a very good way.
Crazy. A rational viewpoint. No, I appreciate that, and so it's been really good to get to know you. And stay tuned. We'll reference his video that we do with him, probably when it comes out here in a little bit.
Yeah,
but
it'll take me a little bit. Not overnight.
No worries. But no, we're super excited to have him on today. And Dylan, I decided let's just bring up a really controversial topic and see what your take is. Okay. So we're going to put you on the spot today, but our headline that we're going to be going over is actually not really a new one, but I have been really doing some thinking and research after the April 2025 General Conference. Okay. There was a talk in there that we'll go over in a little bit, but I have just really trying to wrestle with it. Okay. And I'll explain more, but it has to do with actually the next one right here. Yeah. So here's an article. It says, what generation is most affected by gun violence? Because I wanted to see what is the leading cause of death amidst Gen Z. And if you're not tracking, Gen Z is defined as people that are born within the years 1997 and 2012. So you and I are both Gen Z, right? I'm a
Brandon's
99.
also Gen Z.
Brand is also Gen Z. Exactly.
I am, unfortunately. I don't claim my generation.
Hey, there's some base portions.
I think Gen Z is actually pretty chill. I think Gen Z got a lot going for it right now.
Yeah, one of the biggest generations coming back to the church.
Yeah.
We're
having a spiritual revival in Gen Z. I think they realize that the new atheism didn't deliver on its promise. So I think we're coming back.
So what's your deal, bro?
You have persuaded me.
Anyway, no, there's good and bad, but we're talking here. I want to know, what is the leading cause of death amongst people of our generation, right? And so I find this article is one of the first things that popped up. It said, what generation is most affected by gun violence? And it says, data from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention shows that one age group is bearing a disproportionate share of our national gun violence crisis. So if we scroll down here, it says, is it true that gun violence is the #1 cause of death for Gen Z? And how many of those are suicides versus other types of gun deaths? It says, we dug into the data. The short answer, yes. Okay, well, Brandon, if you want to read those first 2 paragraphs for us right there.
According to the CDC and Prevention's Wonder database, which collects mortality information from death certificates at the state level, firearms were indeed the leading cause of death for members of Gen Z in 2023, the most recent year with available data. That year, 11,368 Zoomers, people who were born between 1997 and 2012, were killed by firearms. More than died from overdoses, car accidents, and cancer. Gen Z also appears to be the only generation to experience gun violence as the leading cause of death. 20 years ago, the top cause of death for people of similar ages to Gen Z, 11 to 26 years old, was car accidents, according to the CDC.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I'm surprised that car accidents wasn't the top one in 2023. Normally it always is, but...
Yeah,
anyway.
no, it has the data here. I think it says 11,300 and whatever for firearm, and then car accidents. What is that? 8,988 car accidents right there, Brandon.
Let's see. Yeah, this.
We zoom in a tiny bit.
I'd also be curious to know, like, statistically, what generations are typically most affected by gun violence in general. Like, if you look throughout the years, which generation is normally the most affected? Because I would assume younger ones are, only because I feel like a lot of deaths by guns is either by retired people because they have one of the higher suicide rates, or young people because of gangs and things like that.
Or, I mean, if you take it back to the alleged greatest generation, right, in World War II, was probably the leading cause of death was gun violence, but in a very different sense.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we see these numbers here, and obviously there's a lot of tragic instances in which lives are ended far too early due to gun violence. And there's a lot to be talked about around this. But then I guess if we scroll down a little bit more, it shows us how many have actually died. If we scroll down a tiny bit more, Brando, yeah, it says firearms have been the leading cause of death for Gen Z since 2017, when the youngest Zoomers were kindergarten age and the oldest could not yet legally drink alcohol. Since 2013, when the last Gen Z turned 1, more than 64,000 Zoomers have been killed by firearms. So,
Wow.
I also wonder if social media plays into that. If the rise of social media among young people causes more volatility.
yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of factors that we could go into here, a lot of mental health irregularities that have happened since the advent of social media and SSRIs and stuff, depression meds and all those things. But here's the thing. So it says that the leading cause of death for people born between 1997 and 2012 is firearms at 64,000. But then I'm looking here, it says poison, overdose, which is drugs, car accidents, other diseases, suffocation. And there's one category here that I don't see being represented, and that is abortion. Killing a defenseless child in the womb. I see that as murder, okay? And kind of to tee this up before we get into the numbers, actually, let's get into the numbers first. Okay, so let's go to ChatGPT here, and let's ask how many abortions have been performed in the United States between 1997 and 2012, okay? Let's see if it's more than 64,000. Let's let it rip, Brando. What do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be more?
Definitely more, yeah, for sure.
But just how much more? That is the question. Because
I mean, ChatGPT is the answer to everything. So I mean,
we'll check the sources. Okay. We've had some run-ins with some false propaganda before, but as this is loading, it's just, to me, when it's talking about the leading cause of death in that article, and then it doesn't reference or see, abortion is murder, and that's a take that many people hold. And we're gonna get into
Holy.
Wow.
I can't read.
Okay. I'll read it for us. It says, using the standard national estimates from Guttmacher Institute, about 19,487,880 abortions were performed in the United States from 1997 through 2012.
And that's just the U.S., right?
That's just the U.S.
That's wild. Because if you go to Europe and stuff, it probably gets even higher.
Yeah. Brandon, do you want to run a search for how many worldwide? But it said if you add the CDC reported totals from 1997 to 2012 from the same table, you get about 13,494,673 abortions. But again, the CDC figure is not a full national count due to incomplete reporting. Okay, so you have 64,000 being caused by firearms. And then you have over 19,400,000 being caused by abortion. Before they even get a chance to take a breath on this earth, they're having their lives ended. And I wanted to bring this up because, one, the numbers are crazy staggering, okay? I didn't realize just how many abortions were performed every year. It's just under 1 million just in the United States alone. But, let's see what it says. Best estimate worldwide, 1997 to 2012. So it says using major World Health Organization stuff estimates. It says 1995, 45.6 million.
Wow.
And then 2003, it's gone down a little bit, but it went down to 41 million.
Well, also, I think you're going to see, too, it might go down a little bit only because as contraceptives improved, I would expect that the abortions might drop a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, but then look at 2010 to 2014.
2010 to 2014, 55 million,
Wow.
55.9 million abortions a year.
Comes out to 722 million abortions worldwide, approximately between 1997 and 2012.
722 million.
That's like 3/4 billion. Like that's
I almost feel like having
crazy.
a moment of silence for that. That is staggering.
Like that is absurd.
It's double the population of the United States.
Yeah. And so a lot to be said about this, and I have some extremely passionate feelings. We've talked about it on this show before and showed some clips of people trying to use the Bible to justify being pro-choice, which I hate that they pose it as this, as if, oh, we are pro-choice, we are pro-agency, right? When specifically the act that they're doing is ripping the agency from a defenseless human being.
It's a counterfeit.
Exactly.
It's a euphemism.
Counterfeit. So it's not pro-choice, it's pro-murder. And it's not pro-life. I think it's anti-murder. Yes, I'm pro-life, but it's anti-murder. Mm-hmm. And that expands to, genocide, that expands to, killing innocent children that are, have been born and stuff like that. But I got to stop saying that too and stuff like that, dude. I've been watching the videos back and I have some major speech tics. You don't have to cut this. I want the people to know. I want to stay accountable to you. But anyways, this is a staggering number. And I wanted to talk about this with you because you shared I don't know if you're willing to share that experience that you're kind of having affiliation with right now. We'll talk about that in a second. But I wanted to hear your position from your religious background on abortions, because recently this last year, Brandon, if you want to pull up this general conference talk, it was given by Neil L. Anderson, is one of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. And he gave a talk in our general conference, a sermon, and it was about abortion. And I kind of want to read this and then just open the door for conversation about this struggle that I am personally having with reasoning with some of these things that are said here. And then I'd love to get your thoughts. Yeah. And your thoughts too, Brando.
You want me to read it?
Sure.
For you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. The Doctrine of Mortal Life. This is a little bit like halfway down the talk. President Dallin H. Oaks said, "Our attitude toward abortion is not based on revealed knowledge of when mortal life begins. It is fixed by our knowledge that all of the spirit children of God must come to this earth for a glorious purpose, and that individual identity began long before conception and will continue for all the eternities to come. The word of the Lord concerning the unborn, given voice through the first presidency and quorum of the 12 apostles, has never varied and echoes the words of prophets through the ages, giving divine clarity to what the Lord has asked of us. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believes in the sanctity of human life. Therefore, the Church opposes elective abortion for personal or social convenience and counsels its members not to submit to, perform, encourage, pay for, or arrange such abortions. The Lord allows, quote, the Lord allows for possible exceptions when pregnancy results from rape or incest, or a competent physician determines that the life or health of the mother is in serious jeopardy, or a competent physician determines that the fetus has severe defects that will not allow the baby to survive beyond birth. The First Presidency continues, abortion is a most serious matter. Even in these rare situations that it just listed, it should be considered only after the persons responsible have received confirmation through prayer and counseled with others. You want me to keep going?
Yes, it's almost over.
30 years ago, the Lord's prophets issued a proclamation to the world that includes these words: "We declare that God has commanded that the sacred power of procreation are to be employed only between man and woman lawfully wedded as husband and wife. We declare the means by which mortal life is created to be divinely appointed. We affirm the sanctity of life and of its importance in God's eternal plan. Nurturing and protecting life that is yet unborn is not a political position. It is a moral law confirmed by the Lord through his prophets."
Okay. So going back to what he first said is pretty powerful. So Dylan, from our standpoint, I guess in our theology, it's a little bit more unique and tell me your thoughts on this. Mm-hmm. We believe that we don't believe in creation ex nihilo, right? Mm-hmm. That God created us out of nothing. Yeah. But that in some form or fashion, we have existed as spirits, intelligences for eternity, right? And it's kind of hard to wrap my brain around that, but it's easy to think about, we're going to live for eternity, starting here and then going for eternity.
So, on that theological point, is the idea that So you don't have memory of that eternal existence beforehand, but will your memory continue from this point forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we believe that when we came into this world, that we went through essentially the veil from the spiritual realm into this terrestrial realm here on the earth, and that we don't have a recollection of our premortal existence, but that our purpose here in life is to kind of follow the path that Jesus Christ laid out for us to be able to return to our Father in heaven again.
Okay.
And so this premortal existence, we believe that we had it. And so when it talks about how our attitude toward abortion is not based on revealed knowledge of when mortal life begins, because I think that's a lot of, religious people, we start from, there's the only clear line that you can draw of when life begins is at conception, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you're like, oh, when consciousness, and then you get to the whole thing of like, oh, people that, are in a coma, is it morally okay just to pull the plug? Or is it, when they have a heartbeat, right? It's just like, what if like one day before they have a heartbeat? Then what? And so it's like you can't really draw a line in the sand that's definitive except for conception. And if I'm wrong, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But then it adds here, kind of adding our different theological background. It says, actually in the same thing, it is fixed by our knowledge that all of the spirit children of God must come to this earth for a glorious purpose, and that individual identity began long before conception and will continue for all the eternities to come. So actually, before I kind of get into where I'm really struggling, Dylan, help me understand from your religious background, like where you kind of are on this issue. Do you feel that those exceptions of, like, for example, we'll just talk about rape and incest. Yeah. How do you feel about those exceptions? Are they justified, or help me understand from your position?
Yeah. So from my background, I would have grown up, as I said, Anabaptist, Mennonite. The one thing I will say about the community I grew up in, it values human life like very highly, very highly. And so, like, for those who don't know, Anabaptists tend to be non-resistant or pacifist. So even to the extent that most of them aren't even willing to kill for the purpose of war and things like that. So they have a pretty high value of human life, and abortion is definitely always been seen as wrong, as sinful, and as murder. And even now, I still hold that view. That has not changed since I've become a non-denominational Christian. Mm-hmm. So I would still hold a very strong stance on that personally. As far as, like the way I would say it too, like I don't hold the same theological position, but I would say God breathes his spirit at conception into, and after all that, once the child is conceived, God's spirit is breathed upon them and they have an eternal soul. Yeah. And so, from that standpoint, then again, the question always boils down to, when does life begin? Because if we can all agree, I'm going to assume that we're not talking to people who are sociopaths, we can all agree that it's wrong to kill innocent life. And then the question is, well, when does that life begin? The only thing that really makes sense is conception, as you said, because any other way you try to define it, you can find really weird loopholes and you find yourself in corners, that the only thing that makes sense is the potential for life and the potential for goodness, which is already there with the spirit being there and the child being conceived. And then as far as the exceptions go, I think the common saying goes, just because one evil's done doesn't mean another evil makes it right. Mm-hmm. It doesn't change the moral position that it's wrong to murder innocent life. Even if something was wrongly and unjustly done to you, that doesn't give you the right now to do something unjust and immoral to someone else. Mm-hmm. And I would say that if someone was taken advantage of sexually, that doesn't now mean they have the right to take advantage of an innocent life. So I understand that emotionally it's really difficult, and I understand that it's something that's hard, but I think that's why you need good support systems around you to help you in those situations, not just telling you get rid of it. Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, I'm coming at this having no personal experiences here, I keep trying to imagine, like, what if, I have a daughter one day that, is raped and conceives a child, like how absolutely heart-wrenching and hard that would be to even think about my daughter experiencing that. But then I'm thinking, like, so would the solve to that, would it take away, more pain, or would it add more pain to then kill that child? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And and going back to this talk, Brandon, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as well, where we in the LDS faith not only believe that that's when life begins, but that we have existed as a spirit before this life, and that just he says, everyone, it says, all of the spirit of children of God must come to this earth for a glorious purpose, and that individual identity began long before conception and will continue for all the eternities to come. So I feel like that adds even an ounce of more weight in regards to this whole scenario, because we believe that, life begins before conception, honestly, for us. Mm-hmm. And that it is so important that each of us have this mortal experience. And so I understand where he's saying that even in the cases of exception, great prayer and consideration needs to be taken into account to make those hard decisions. But Brandon, I'm really struggling to see how there would be a scenario in which it is morally justifiable to then solve that evil, like you said, Dylan, of rape and incest with ending the life of that child that was conceived.
Yeah, I've always struggled with that idea too. And, in here, he talks about how it really is going to come down to prayer. It's going to come down to prayer and personal revelation and counseling with others. It emphasizes counseling with others. Counsel with your bishop about this. Counsel with people in your life who love you. And sometimes they can give you the wrong advice, which is why I think you should not just go to them. Go to other leaders, ecclesiastical leaders, to talk about things like this. And of course, I have no idea what any of that's like, so I can't give any personal experience on that. Me personally, I feel like when we're a part of a big family, we should all personally be ready to, if we have a younger sibling or someone close to us in our life that is not able to take care of this child due to being raped or making a mistake, that maybe we should be ready to take that child for them. Mm. And that's one route you can take. I know some people in my life who have done that, and the child, the child is here because of that. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for that fact. And just one last thing, mm-hmm. really quick. When abortions are performed, it is tragic and sad, but I do just want to tell you a little bit about our theology. We believe that children who die before the age of accountability, in our theology, the age of 8 is the age of accountability. That's when children get baptized. Okay. It is very clear that if a child dies before that age of accountability, whether they're aborted, whether they die as a child from a sickness or something tragic, they will be saved in the kingdom of God. And I think that's a beautiful theology that helps bring some comfort to people who have gone through something like this, but mm-hmm. still it is a very, very tragic and sad thing.
I think the one thing I was going to throw in there is I do have mercy, especially on teenagers and stuff, people in high school and things like that have gone through it, because a lot of times they're not influenced by purely their own decision. A lot of times it's parents, it's other leaders in their life, influences. So sometimes when we see these numbers, we all have to remember some of these are kids, for lack of a better word, who were told to do this by a guardian or an older person who just, that's the way they thought about dealing with the issue.
Yeah. And so, look, I just wanted to talk about this because I wanted to open the conversation and if you have personal experiences like with this, I want to have a conversation with you, because I would love to know, like, someone that has gone through this awful experience of being taken advantage of sexually like that and being raped and then conceiving a child, and then someone that has prayed about this and felt in their hearts and minds that God has said that, yes, it is okay to abort this child that was conceived in rape. Like, I don't know. I'd love if there's anyone in the comments that knows someone that has gone through this awful experience and would be willing to talk, because I'd love to hear your perspective. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because when I try to rationally think about it, if it would be morally justifiable, I think of interactions like this. If you go to that Facebook video that I sent you, yeah, this is from a Jubilee video. Honestly, I'll link it in the description because the full video is really good. But this exchange kind of really gave me pause.
I, as a person who has been assaulted, I didn't get to make that choice with that rape, but I do get to make the choice with what happens with that fertilized egg. And when I am sitting here with a 10-year-old child who didn't have a choice to then say, you must carry that child, that is unconscionable.
If I can respond, Rebecca Kiesling, my friend who was conceived in her mother tried to have an abortion. It was illegal and she couldn't access one. So she ended up placing Rebecca for adoption. And Rebecca goes around and says, what about my right to life? And she ended up meeting with her mother years later. And her mother said, I'm actually glad I wasn't able to end your life. One of the key things that we need to acknowledge is that abortion isn't something that's going to heal. Abortion
does.
Abortion can add trauma. In the state of California, 200,000 Medicaid patients, women, 150% more likely to commit suicide for those that had an abortion.
There is no medical evidence. There is no psychological evidence.
There have been a lot of studies that have been done that show that abortion can be profoundly traumatizing.
I, as a person who has been assaulted.
I mean, it's always tricky. It's always tricky because there's a lot of emotions that get wrapped up in conversations like this. But ultimately, the trauma is from the initial action, and then often the abortion just can complicate that even more.
Yeah, for sure. And so when I hear this exchange about this woman that was conceived in rape and now is like an anti-abortion advocate, and it's like, what am I going to look this lady in the eye and be like, no, like you were part of the exception. You should have been aborted. Like, it would have been morally justifiable so to prevent you from having a life on this earth. It's like, I can't really understand that, and doesn't feel right in my gut. And I mean, we know the verses in Matthew 18 where Jesus is talking about the sanctity of children and how we must treat them. And when he says, but whosoever shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone be hanged around his neck and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. I can't see that, you know, let's say a child is 8 months in the womb and that he would feel any differently about a child that wasn't yet born on the earth. You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't know. I really wanted to get this conversation starting because it's been something that I've really been struggling with to reason with morally. And so I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments about this. But it's a complicated issue. And I think instead of riding the spiral of silence and not talking about it, I think we should bring up the conversation. But Brandon,
go to the MTC.
Did you have something? Yeah, we got to go to the MTC, but is there any last thoughts?
No, just the last thing very, very quickly. There are about 1 to 2 million families waiting to adopt newborns. And I don't know if this statistic is totally accurate. I remember hearing that for every one abortion, there's 4 families waiting to adopt. And so there's someone there available to take your child. I know it's a little more nuanced and complicated than that, but just thinking about that, like, why wouldn't you just let the child live and give it to someone who can take care of them? That's just something to think about.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, Dylan, on this?
Yeah, I think ultimately I would just stand by the fact that we are called to lay down our lives for others. And that also means to bear difficult things for the purpose of saving other lives and helping others. So I would say find the help to get through trauma, find the help that you need, find the support. If you aren't going to church and stuff, a lot of churches will help you, things like that. So at the end of the day, we're called to lay down our life for others, and that's my appeal.
It's an awesome ending.
let us know your thoughts. I know there's going to be passionate feelings on all sides, but wanted to get this conversation started. Let us know what you guys think, and God bless you. Thanks for coming on the show, Dylan. It's been a pleasure to have you. Really excited for our visit to the MTC right now. And
go subscribe to Backpack Religion.
Go subscribe to Backpack Religion. It's going to be awesome. But remember, until next time, if you're not looking at the world through a gospel lens, you're only getting half the story. God bless you.